What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Grow Old with Us, where we are growing old together. How old?
Until infinity and beyond.
Ooh, that's a good one. Okay. I'm Cody. This is my hubby, Josh. And I have no idea what we're reacting to, but he pulled something up called Why Bible Accurate Angels Are So Creepy. So is this like making fun of angels?
I don't know if it's making fun of them, but maybe it's just something where they actually talk about
What, like what they look like in the Bible? Or?
Right.
Oh, interesting. We like to keep an open mind around here about all things. So let's check it out. Well, most things. I'm not going to say all things.
Angels. Even if you haven't touched the Bible, you probably have an idea of what they look like. They're those elegant, heavenly beings with long white robes, swan-like wings, and perhaps a halo on top for good measure. We also know what angel babies or cherubs look like. Those small, chubby, cute infants clasping a bow and arrow. The kind of thing you might see on a Valentine's Day card.
Cherubs are pretty
That's not
kawaii.
what angels actually look like.
Oh.
Not according to the Bible. These are biblically accurate angels.
Snap, son.
I like the
Are
rock
you
music.
Horrifying abominations are more suited to an H.P. Lovecraft novel, not really the Bible. So what are these things? Why do they look this way? And how have we got angels so wrong? Okay, so angels come from the Old Testament, the first half of the Bible for Christians, or the whole Bible, known as the Tanakh, for Jews. The Old Testament was written down in modern-day Israel and Palestine from about the 6th century BCE to the 3rd century BCE. Although many scholars believe the biblical stories themselves are much older. We get the word angel from the Greek angelos, originally from the Hebrew word malach, which roughly translates to messenger. These messengers appear in the Old Testament a number of times. They carry God's messages from heaven and earth, and sometimes act on his behalf. For example, you might recognize the angel of death in the Passover story that slaughtered all the first sons of the Egyptians. Or perhaps the angel that struck 70,000 Israelites to death, and the angel that single-handedly killed 185,000 Syrian soldiers in one night.
I'm sorry.
When they appear in the Bible,
What?
they're
The
described as
Lego
having
people
wings.
were just random to
They
me.
look like any other person. In the later biblical texts, such as Daniel, some even get names: Gabriel, Raphael, and Michael. Okay, this all sounds familiar, but they're not quite the nightmare material, freak abominations we saw before. The angels, known as malach, are not the only heavenly beings in the Bible. There's a hierarchy of them, and depending on who you ask, your classic humanoid angels are actually pretty far down the ladder. In the Middle Ages, a Jewish scholar known as Maimonides drew up a hierarchy of angels, and if you look here, your classic humanoid angels, the malach, are pretty low down. But not quite as low as cherubim. Forget those chubby-winged angels. According to the Bible, cherubim are animal-human hybrids. The first time we see them is in the book of Genesis, right after Adam and Eve have been kicked out of the
That's so
garden.
we're protecting the garden,
Their
right?
job is to guard the Garden of Eden from mankind. Our best description of cherubim comes from the book of Ezekiel. It opens with the prophet experiencing a profound vision. In his vision, Ezekiel describes them as living creatures, but they're later revealed in chapter 10 as cherubim. His account is as follows. In the middle of it was something like 4 living creatures. This was their appearance. They were of human form. Each had 4 faces, and each of them had 4 wings. Their legs were straight, and their soles of their feet were like the sole of a calf's foot, and they sparkled like burnished bronze. Under their wings, on their 4 sides, they had human hands, and the 4 had their faces and their wings thus. Their wings touched one another. Each of them moved straight ahead, without turning as they moved. As for the appearance of their faces, the 4 had the face of a human being, the face of a lion on their right side, the face of an ox on their left side, and the face of an eagle. Such were their faces. Their wings were spread out above.
I feel like
Each
we're in a
creature had
dream.
2 wings, each of which touched the wing of another, while 2 covered their bodies. Each moved straight ahead. Wherever the spirit would go, they went, without turning as they went. In the middle of the living creatures, there was something that looked like burning coals of fire. like torches moving to and fro among the living creatures. The fire was bright, and lightning issued from the fire. The living creatures darted to and fro, like a flash of lightning. The cherubim don't look like your average angel. Instead, they look more like the mythical beasts in ancient Mesopotamia, especially the Babylonian Iyamasu, which is the wings of an eagle, the body of a lion, and the head of a king. These would act as guardians to sacred places like temples, or the palace, or city walls, and performed a similar role to the biblical cherubim. They look similar to their Egyptian cousin, the Sphinx, or the Hittite griffin. Many believe that these biblical angels were descendants of these mythological creatures from Mesopotamia. There would have been a lot of cultural exchange, and the same sorts of mythical creatures would crop up across these regions. Cherubim in later Christianity may have been imported from Greek and Roman myths, borrowing from the shapes of Cupid or Pluto.
Yep.
Moving up the list, we get these guys, seraphim. They have 6 wings, 2 used for flying, and the other pair for covering the angel's face, and the third pair for covering the angel's feet.
That's interesting.
They're described in the book of Isaiah as follows. Seraphs were in attendance above him. Each had 6 wings. With 2 they covered their faces, and with 2 they covered their feet, and with 2 they flew. And one called the other and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts, and the whole earth is full of his glory. In medieval Christian theology, seraphim is the highest choir of the angelic hierarchy. They are the caretakers of God's throne. Again, continuously singing, Holy, 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 all day, every day. So, seraphim, their name comes from the word seraph, to burn. So seraphim may mean something like the burning ones. Okay, well, where do they come from? Going further into seraphim's name reveals its origins. The Hebrew word for a venomous serpent in the desert is saraph. In ancient Egypt, the cobra was often referred to as the flaming one, an image of which, called a uraeus, was worn by the pharaoh. Thus, saraph may be the Hebrew term for cobra, and perhaps where our seraphim get their winged appearance from. Now we're getting to the strangest beings in the Bible, the Ophanim, or simply known as the wheels. They're a pair of interlocking gold wheels with eyes around the outside, and they hover and float in the sky. In the same vision as before, Ezekiel describes them alongside the cherubim. Quote, As I looked to the living creatures, I saw a wheel on the earth beside the living creatures, one for each of the 4 of them. As for the appearance of the wheels and their construction, their appearance was like the gleaming of beryl, and the 4 had the same form, their construction being something like a wheel within a wheel. When they moved in any of the 4 directions without veering as they moved.
What book did they say?
Their rims were tall and awesome, for the rims of all 4 were full of eyes.
Now I need to read
all
Ezekiel and make sure this isn't like...
When the living creatures moved, the wheels moved beside them. And when the living creatures rose from the earth, the wheels rose. Wherever the spirit would go, they went, and the wheels rose along with them. For the spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels. The wheels are beings who are meant to carry God's throne, making them some of the holiest, and certainly the strangest beings in the Bible. Where do these wheels come from? Well, no one really knows this one. Conspiracy theorists believe that Ezekiel is describing a UFO due to its strange shape and movement. Or, perhaps, seeing that this all takes place in a trippy vision, it could be the product of the prophet ingesting a psychedelic plant. More grounded scholars interpret the wheels.
Oh, so he was just high with his song. I like it, straight to the point. Oh, he was just high, bro.
Ultimately, no one really knows much more about the wheels. They're never mentioned anywhere else. There is some confusion about whether these eldritch abominations, known as cherubim, seraphim, or ophanim, are really actually angels. Perhaps heavenly being is a better description of them. Whatever it may be, the Bible's view of heaven is not the exclusive domain of these beautiful winged humanoids. If heaven is in fact real, you'll likely be spending a literal eternity alongside these winged monstrosities instead. Hey, thanks for the video.
Be fearful. Be scared of heaven.
That was an interesting video, though. Like,
it was interesting. The only thing I was thinking is I need to go back and read Ezekiel to see if this is like a dream, a vision.
that's what he said. He said it was vision.
Right, but it was towards the end that he said that.
Yeah.
I was.
Yeah, he said it was a
I
vision.
was like, what exactly is he portraying here, you know what I mean? So, but it was very interesting because sometimes you also know in the Bible it's like metaphorically speaking, and or how Jesus speaks in parables and stuff like that. So you can't take everything on the surface.
I think a lot. Like the problem with I've noticed when talking to people about this type of stuff is no one really talks about what a vision is, right? And the limitations of a vision. So let's say you have a vision, right?
Yes.
Your vision is of 21. Okay.
Excuse me. Okay, so like a prophecy?
Yeah.
Okay.
You have a prophecy vision of 21.
Future vision.
Right.
Vision of the future.
So what you're going to do to explain that vision to people, even though you may not know what you're seeing in this vision, because because basically your mind is limited to what you know. It's like that for everybody. So you could be seeing something, and the only way you can explain it to a person is to liken it to something that you know. While it's not what you're likening it to, you're likening it to what you know.
Right.
That's something that's never really ever talked about whenever these pastors or people who say they have visions, or people who try to interpret these visions like out of Bibles and other religious things. People who are having these visions are limited to what they know. That may not even be wings.
I just like the
All
idea
he
of
can do-
the wing things flying around with just their face.
But that's what I mean, though. Like, that's why I was like, oh, that's weird. That's crazy. That's creepy. That's blah, blah, blah. It may not even be wings, but only thing he can liken it to by what that person knows is wings, basically. You know what I mean? Like, so that's why I'm always kind of like, when people start talking about this type of stuff, no one ever brings that part up. Like, we're all limited in,
That's
what
very true.
in what we know. So
We have limited understanding, I guess.
we just have limited knowledge because we only know what we see, and then what we're kind of like told. So, like, if we see if something flew through this room right now and we had no idea what it was, like, I'm talking about like just to say a bug,
robin,
like you just say like a
maybe
bug,
a
right?
roach.
Like, we'll say it looks like this type of bug. It could be an alien from like
This is true.
10 galaxies away, but we're going to liken it to what we know to try to explain it to people. That's the way it's always done in these situations. So when I sat back one time and was thinking about Revelations and John's dreams and Revelations, and he was like, the locusts moved through destroying everything, and they had crowns and they had teeth that spit fire, and I mean, and I had talked to about it with people, and everyone was like, man, that's crazy, man. Like, you imagine locusts just going through, like, destroying everything, blah blah blah. And I used to work in construction, so I was around bugs all the time in the outside, and we worked at a place where we had locusts, and the locusts would come and fly up to the welding light, because we was working a night shift, so they was attracted to the light, and they would come and they fly, land on your shoulder, fly around in your hood, get in your face, mess you all up, and fly off. But what I began to realize was, when you get a bug that can fly, they make a humming sound, like a type of sound, and it gets in your ear. That's what you hear with it.
What was that sound again? I like it. I like it a lot.
You like that sound?
Only when you make it.
Yeah, maybe I don't like it when there's a big old bug in here.
No.
So I hear that, and I was like, that's crazy. So we leave that job, we go somewhere else. And I'm sitting in my car, and I hear There's no locust though. No bug in my ear. There's an army base close to where we were working, and there was 3 helicopters flying over the top of where we were working, and it made this exact same sound. So then I start thinking, like, he's explaining a helicopter, but he doesn't know it's a helicopter. You have the sound, you have a group of helicopters, you have a sound that's made by the helicopter. When you look at the propellers when they spin, they don't look like they're actually attached to the helicopter. It looks like something that's sitting on top of, just sitting there. That would explain the crowns sitting on the heads of the locusts. He said in the teeth, they had teeth and they spit fire. You can look up, there's a bunch of YouTube videos of it, but you can look up videos of a group of helicopters shooting machine guns at a target.
Of course.
It looks like it's spitting fire. I said he's explaining helicopters. He doesn't know it's a helicopter. Or he doesn't know it's a group of helicopters. So he's going to call it locusts, a group of locusts. And they destroy everything as they go. They're flying. They shoot fire. And that's what he's explaining. That's the only way he can explain it. So I was just like, once I kind of got into that, I was like, okay, so when you basically listen to these visions and listen to these descriptions of stuff, these people, that's probably not even a wheel with eyes on it. You know what I mean? Like, but it's probably circular in nature, and that's the only way that he can explain it in that way. It's circular. So
I see that.
Yeah.
Or it is a wheel, but it doesn't have eyes, but he didn't know what was on the wheel.
Right. He doesn't know what the design is or things like that. And I remember someone was breaking down like certain, not just visions, but certain things that have happened in the Bible. And they were like, well, you gotta think about it like this. I'm rusty, but somebody was taken up by a flaming chariot. And I can't remember who it was, but he threw his robe down. I remember all that. I don't know if that's Ezekiel. That's not Ezekiel. But this person explained that he came and got picked up on a flaming chariot that came and got him and took him off. Right?
I was trying to think.
I can't think of who it is.
Him and Enoch were the two that had been taken out.
Yeah, they've been taken out. Yeah, Enoch and him are the only two in the Bible that's been like just taken out. But so the guy was like, so now you gotta think about it from this perspective. Like, is there air in the spiritual realm for this thing to be flying? Or was that even a chariot? What if it was actually a plane of some type? But but you gotta think about it. We're talking about he was picked up by something from the spiritual realm, not from the earthly realm.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. So that could have been something totally different. But how do they get around in their times? By chariots.
Yeah.
So he's only going to liken the fact that this thing that came and took this guy off into the sky is akin to how they get around, because that's the only thing that he knows. So it's a chariot. But he said, but is that really the case? Because it may not have been that. It could have been something different.
Makes sense.
So I just think it's cool. Personally, that's why I like watching like these little tidbit videos and stuff like that, because stuff like, you know, you get to see, and then I like how he actually cross-referenced how so many different things share, like the snake in the wings and the lion with the man face and all this, like that's in the Bible, that's in Egyptian, stuff like that. And then he also showed how the Greek just came through and just like completely changed all of it, and that's what Christians believe now from what the Greeks have set up. So I like how he did that, and he did it smooth too. He had no long explanation for it. He just did it real subtle, real smooth. I think that was dope. Anyways, that's it.
Alright guys, thank you so much for checking out this video. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Let us know if there's anything you'd like us to check out or react to. And until next time, we are out. Sorry, they were being